Come out, little avatar. Come out of the dirt ball, Aang. You're literally the main character. You're supposed to be saving the world right now.
I can't. The plot armor isn't working yet. Go ask Zuko. His character development is carrying the entire franchise anyway.
And honestly, sexishly deep voice Ozai and child voice Aang might be onto something. What if the entire show was a trick? What if the avatar was just an appropriately placed plot device, and the real story belonged to someone else? Wink wink, Zuko.
Water. Earth. Fire. Air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar, master of all four elements, could stop them. But when the world needed him most, he vanished. 100 years passed and my brother and I discovered the new Avatar, a loyal theorist named Avatushner. And although his theorizing skills are great, he has a lot to learn before he's ready to save anyone. But I believe Avatushner can save the world.
Hello to all you overly obsessed Avatar fans, and welcome to Avatushner, the channel where we look past the title screen to prove why Zuko is the actual protagonist of Avatar. In the premiere episode, we're introduced to the core cast: Sokka, the group's brilliant tactician; Katara, the mother figure and eventual love interest; and the supposed protagonist, Aang, the avatar who spent the last century chilling in an iceberg. On the flip side, we see Iroh, who is Zuko's uncle, and we also see Zuko himself alongside the crew members who all make the antagonists. Honestly, it just makes more sense. Otherwise, the show is just about a guy trying to restore his honor by chasing a literal centenarian who acts like a middle schooler. Now, what do you think makes a good protagonist? A well-written character? Maybe someone you can relate to? Well, those are good guesses, but they aren't the whole story. There are 5 specific elements that make a protagonist truly great, and we'll break them down later in this video. But without further ado, let's get right into the first point. The first thing we need to look for in both Aang and Zuko is a clear goal and achievement they want to reach. This means they have a specific desire they are actively pursuing, whether a character is trying to save the world or just pay their rent. This driving force is what provides urgency and keeps the audience invested. Let's test both Zuko and Aang to see if they have a clear driving force. We'll start with Aang. Now, I've searched far and wide through every single book of this show, and not once did I find a clip where Aang actually says he wants to save the world, or actively pursue his destiny. Literally, the only mention of it comes from Katara in the intro, but I believe Aang can save the world. Like, are we just taking her word for it now? I'm not even joking with you guys. I haven't slept in 2 whole days just trying to find a single clip of this man-child claiming his own plotline. Don't believe me? Gun to the back of your head. Name 5 moments where Aang actually says he's gonna save the world. Exactly, you're dead. Let's move over to Zuko. As we know, his main objective in Book 1 is to restore his honor by capturing the Avatar. That is a clear, specific desire he is actively pursuing. The narrative instantly makes more sense if the protagonist is a boy who lost everything: his country, his family, and his honor, and goes on a massive adventure to win it all back. The entire plotline just makes way more sense if the protagonist is a boy who lost everything. He just wants his father to love him again, so he goes on a relentless journey to capture the one thing that can help him regain his life. Tell me that doesn't make sense. It makes infinitely more sense than a boy who was trapped in an iceberg for a century suddenly deciding to save the world, especially when that same boy never even utters the words "save the world" in a single sentence. And that is my first point on why Zuko is the actual protagonist. Let's move over to Book 2. The core story arcs for Aang here are the mission to Ba Sing Se, finding an earthbending teacher, and Appa's kidnapping. But the only story arc that blows all 3 of those completely out of the water is the Fugitive arc, where Zuko and Uncle Iroh are branded as traitors and forced to live as hunted outlaws, constantly pursued by his sister. This single book alone gave us the episode Zuko Alone, which is widely considered the absolute best fucking episode in the entire series. It gave us his raw backstory. I mean, what more could you possibly need to realize that Zuko is the hidden protagonist of this show? Let's go back to the checklist. After everything we just said about Aang and Zuko, Zuko has the better goals and clearer achievements, so we can give that a tick. So far from what we can tell, Zuko is looking like the actual protagonist, but we need more evidence than that to make a proper assumption. So let's get into chapter 2. Now you might be wondering, if Zuko isn't the antagonist, then who is? A story can't function without a clear antagonist. If it doesn't have one, it doesn't follow the basic rules of storytelling, plain and simple. Well, the antagonist obviously has to be... yeah, it's Aang and the rest of the team. I don't know who you expected it to be, but the rules of storytelling regarding conflict and stakes state that there has to be opposition to the main protagonist's goal to create tension. Now you may be asking, how exactly does Aang create tension for Zuko? Well, let's see. Zuko's entire survival, his future, and his desperate need for his father's acceptance depend on one single thing: capturing the Avatar. Every single time Zuko gets close to achieving his goal, who is the obstacle that violently stops him? Aang. By constantly escaping, fighting back, and overpowering him, Aang acts as the ultimate roadblock to Zuko's destiny. In pure storytelling terms, Aang is the active force causing Zuko's failure, driving his desperation, and creating the ultimate tension in his life. But Zuko joins them later on, so how is Aang the antagonist, and how does he create tension for Zuko? Well, my beautiful commenter, when Zuko joins the team to teach firebending, Aang literally tries to lazy off. This is a clear sign Aang is creating the tension here. Zuko is stressed trying to train him to beat his father, and Aang's slacking is creating direct conflict for Zuko's goal.
Me! Hey, your lesson's not over yet. Get back here!
Come on, Zuko. Just take a break. What's the big deal?
Fine. If you want to lounge around like a bunch of snail sloths all day, then go ahead.
Maybe Zuko's right. Sitting around the house has made us pretty lazy.
Or what about when he tries to join the team? They get ready to attack him instantly. I get that Zuko was chasing them in the past, but this still directly interferes with Zuko's goal. It hasn't been a full day since Zuko joined the team, and Katara instantly gives this man a death threat. While we are on the topic of Katara, let's move to my second point: love interests. Now imagine you've never watched Avatar before, and somebody asks you, who has the better love interest? A 112-year-old who has feelings for a minor, or a 16-year-old boy dating a 16 to 17-year-old girl? Which one is actually better? Obviously, you'd say the 16-year-old, right? Right? But it's okay because he's, technically 12 years old, so there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think we need to go into further detail with the love interests. The point clearly goes to Zuko for obvious reasons. You might say Aang wins this easily, but for someone who supposedly bears the burden of his entire culture being wiped out, he rarely seems sad. If anything, he's usually happy. The only real time he shows grief is when he finds Meng Gyatso's body. Plus, that weight shouldn't even be on Aang. It belongs to Avatar Roku. Roku literally said, "I could have stopped Sozin, but I didn't." So it's not Aang's burden at all. Just because it's Avatar Roku's burden doesn't mean it falls on Aang just because he's the next Avatar in line. That's like saying Avatar Yang Chen bears the burden of the mass genocide simply because she was also part of the Avatar cycle. Sure, he ran away, but he had no idea the Fire Nation was coming. Besides, what could a kid who just found out he was the Avatar even do? He hadn't learned the other 3 elements yet. He was a master airbender, yeah, but actual adult masters still got wiped out in that invasion. It makes you realize that at least one of those air nomads must have died thinking Aang was a traitor for leaving right before the attack. The next point we need to look at is clear structure, and we need to see if it actually shows up for both Zuko and Aang. A real protagonist needs a clearly structured journey, not just a random sequence of events. Let's map out Zuko's timeline first. He starts off completely hot-tempered and hyper-focused on capturing the Avatar. The man is so obsessed he literally refuses to sleep.
Prince Zuko, you need some sleep.
Book 1 Zuko was completely lost. He thought the only cure was getting his father's love and his honor back. But as we see later on, when he finally gets everything he wanted, he's still just as angry and lost as he was before.
For so long I thought that if my dad accepted me, I'd be happy. I'm back home now. My dad talks to me. He even thinks I'm a hero. Everything should be perfect, right? I should be happy now. But I'm not. I'm angrier than ever and I don't know why.
He realizes he hasn't grown a single bit since betraying Iroh. That right there is peak character development in writing. Book 1 Zuko was basically just him acting like an absolute obsessed girlfriend. But Book 2? Oh, this is where it gets deep. From cutting his hair, which represented his entire identity as the Fire Nation prince, to becoming a faceless refugee, to the Zuko Alone episode where he travels the Earth Kingdom and sees firsthand the absolute terror his nation has caused. All the way to the crossroads of destiny, this is what peak writing looks like. The final book, Book 3, is what I'd call an empty victory. Zuko has gotten everything he ever wanted, but he feels nothing. Book 3 starts with him thinking he's where he has always wanted to be, back home, sitting next to his father. But the genius part about this book is that he is absolutely miserable. Late into Book 3, Zuko stands face to face with the man who caused this entire 3-year goose chase. He spent years trying to please a man he thought meant everything to him, only to finally call him out on everything. And I mean everything.
For so long, all I wanted was for you to love me, to accept me. I thought it was my honor that I wanted, but really, I was just trying to please you. You, my father, who banished me just for talking out of turn. My father, who challenged me, a 13-year-old boy, to an Agni Kai. How can you possibly justify a duel with a child?
When he redirects Ozai's lightning, he proves once and for all that he is no longer shackled by his father's approval. Aang's character development, on the other hand, was just a coming-of-age story. You could say Aang's entire narrative begins because he ran away. When the monks told him he was the Avatar and tried to separate him from Gyatso, he panicked, fled, and got trapped in an iceberg. Early in Book 1, he's still actively dodging his duties, constantly distracting the team to go penguin sledding or ride elephant koi. By Book 3 though, Aang is no longer running. When the day of Black Sun invasion fails, he doesn't flee to hide. He actively steps up to lead the remaining group. In the finale, when Ozai is raining fire down on the Earth Kingdom, Aang stands directly in his path, completely accepting his role as the world's protector. And I think I speak for everyone when I say I'd rather watch a story about a kid being banished by his own father, having an intense identity crisis, and betraying his only true father figure, just to rejoin a nation that didn't want him in the first place, only to leave that nation again to find his true purpose in life, than watch a classic coming-of-age story. So it's really not crazy to say that Zuko's arc had a much clearer structure than Aang's. Because of that, we have to give this point to Zuko. We have finally reached the final chapter of this video, Ideological Legacy. At its core, this is the fundamental difference between a character who changes the world versus a character who changes the cycle. If you don't understand what I mean by changing the world versus changing the system, take Zuko for instance. He changes the world. How though? He changes the world by taking the throne from his father, becoming Fire Lord, and ending the 100-year war. Then, he spends the rest of his life tearing down his father's empire, returning conquered land, and completely resetting how the nations treat each other. I would show you clips of that, but if I have to see that water-bending prick of an avatar on my screen one more time, I don't think I'll make it to tomorrow. Let's get back on topic. Aang is the one who changes the actual system. His whole job as the Avatar means he has to deal with the spiritual side of the universe, like dealing with the spirit world and mastering the Avatar state. He's literally channeling past lives just to force the world back into balance, and he basically created a brand new way for all 4 nations to live together in one place, changing the whole political and spiritual setup for the future. Now that we understand where Zuko and Aang stand in the world, we can finally move on to the last 2 points of the video, wants versus needs, and the shadow archetype. I'll go way deeper into the shadow rule in just a second, but for now, let's kick it off with wants versus needs. Let's start with Aang. All he wants is to be a normal kid, play games with friends, and run away from his responsibilities. But he needs to accept his destiny as the Avatar and face the Fire Lord. Zuko is the exact opposite. He wants his honor back, his father's approval, and his place as prince. But what he needs to realize is that his father is a monster. The Fire Nation is the real villain, and he has to find his own honor by doing the right thing. And the moment Zuko gets everything he ever wanted, he realizes it means absolutely nothing because it didn't fulfill his actual need. That's why he leaves the Fire Nation to join the gang. Aang's need was basically forced on him by destiny itself from day one, but Zuko actually has to fight his own desires, fail over and over again, and choose his need over what he wants. And that is why Zuko easily wins the point here. We've reached the final point of this video, the shadow archetype. In classic storytelling terms, a shadow archetype is a character who acts like a mirror to the protagonist. They show what the hero could have become if they had made all the wrong choices. So, which two characters show the shadow archetype the most? Well, if it wasn't obvious already, it's Azula and Zuko. From the very beginning, Azula is the exact thing Zuko wants to be. She is a ruthless prodigy, naturally gifted at firebending, and completely loyal to Ozai's perspective of the world. She is the perfect representation of the monster Zuko spent years trying to become just to win his father's love. She is exactly what Zuko would have become if he continued his desperate search to capture the Avatar. While Zuko is trying to be good, she acts like the literal devil on his shoulder, tempting him with the things his ego wants, his honor and his father's love and acceptance. She represents the absolute worst version of Zuko if he completely gave up his conscience. While Zuko's shadow archetype is obvious, I couldn't find a clean match for Aang. The best option I could come up with is Fire Lord Ozai, but even that's a stretch. Because of that, Zuko taking this final point is basically a no-brainer. So there you have it. Zuko has been the actual protagonist of the series, but like I said in my previous video, I could be very wrong. But the proof is there, and it's just a fun little theory to think about while on your 100+ rewatch like myself. So that's what I'm going on. But then again, I'm just a guy who makes theories about a kid's show, so take that as you will. At the end of the day, it's just a TV series that me and probably you have spent too much time watching. It's been Avatutioner here. Remember to watch some Avatar, and don't forget to eat some water, drink some food, and God bless.